Speaker and members of this honorable house, the increased secularization of this world is something that we must definitely celebrate. And this is why the government is standing in support of this motion before us. We celebrate the secularization of the world for several reasons, but let us look at what secularization really is. It is a freedom to reject aspects of things that pertain to doctrines that reject religion and religious considerations. So we are saying that secularization in of itself is something to be celebrated for several reasons. We celebrate things when they reduce ignorance, and it's a good reason to celebrate the increased secularization of our world. We also celebrate things when they improve us socially, and we are going to show you how this is done. Now, firstly, religion proposes subjective morality, and we cannot afford for citizens of this world to continue to live in subjective morality. And so, religion proposes subjective morality, and we are saying that secularization is the answer to that subjective morality that religion proposes. There are unjustified actions, and based on our status quo, many things are done in the name of religion. Murder is accepted in the name of religion. There are many things, whipping women, abuse to women. A whole myriad of things are accepted in the name of religion, and we are saying that we cannot allow this, and this is due to the subjectiveness of morality that religion proposes. So the opposition will come to you and say religion has created morality in our society, but we are saying that this morality is subjective, and if morality is subjective, then a certain set of persons are at an advantage because of a certain mindset that they hold, and they treat another set of persons a different way because of the mindset that they hold, and we cannot afford for this subjective morality because it does not solve the issue of, as they would put forward, morality in our society. Now, they would tell you that morality would be engraved in persons, but we have seen when religion is most dominant that persons experience the lowest levels of morality. There are ages where there were many crusades and many persecution against persons who are not of a certain religious belief, and we see that this was in an era when the church, for example, was dominant, or when a certain religion, for example, is dominant, and so we cannot allow for persons to be subjected to this kind of treatment just because of the subjective morality of a group of persons who affiliate themselves with a religion. And so we are celebrating secularization means that we are celebrating rejection of a set of philosophies that will elevate persons based on the mindset that they hold, and that is what religion puts forward to us. So we are celebrating the secularization of this world. We're not at this moment. We are celebrating the secularization of this world because it has not done anything good for us, and the points that it put forward have not proven to improve our society. We want persons to be free thinkers, and they cannot be free thinkers if they are going to engage in philosophies put forward by religion, which only allows them to be closed-minded, and when they are closed-minded, there's no openness to other religions, there's no openness to discuss matters that might be affecting others. So religion does not equate to morality. It equates to subjectiveness, which it does not equate to true morality. It equates to subjectiveness, where certain people believe they are moral because they have a certain mindset. Accepted quickly. Yes.
So all of the human rights that you're talking about is based upon the Constitution that is Christian-based. So the United States, for instance, Constitution talks about equality.
No, the United States Constitution clearly outlines that a person is free to uphold any religious belief that they have. And the American Constitution was based on freedom. So we are saying that persons, we are not saying that persons should throw away religion, but we are saying celebrate secularization, because secularization allows persons to get out of the box of this skewed morality that religion put forward. So we are not saying that oppose persons, because if we should oppose persons, then what we are doing is doing what religion is already doing to many persons. So we cannot allow that. Secondly, it reduces dogmatism, which is directly linked to ignorance. And we must understand that there are many countries that are locked down because of religion. There are many countries where persons are marginalized because of the dominant religion in that society. When persons increase in secular thoughts, or persons increase in secularity, what we see is that there are persons who are willing to stand up against what religion puts forward, and it allows other persons to realize that dogmatism does not necessarily work, and it shuns the idea of ignorance, to just sit down and allow religion to dictate everything to you when you can get up and think for yourself. It is not right to say that just because you're affiliated with a certain religion, you should just sit down and be ignorant and allow this religion to dominate your life and to dictate everything to you. We want to reduce the level of dogmatism, and many persons, religion, they might say, will unite persons, but it unites persons and it unites you with a common idea. And when your idea is threatened, it causes you to be more dogmatic. And when you're dogmatic, you tend to do things that will hurt other persons who do not share that belief that you put forward. So secularization challenges, on that whole matter of dogmatism, secularization challenges religious groups to really to up their game. They no longer do you just say it is right because religion says it is right. That is dogmatism, and we cannot allow it. So secularization challenges this kind of mindset, and it allows persons to realize that this cannot go, not accepted. So when we see that secularization increases and it challenges religion, religions will now have to improve what they have to offer. No longer can you just say, take this because religion says it must be done, but we cannot just swallow every pill that religion puts forward to us. So when we increase in secularization, religious groups who need to be, who thrive on persons being a part of their religious group will now have to up their game to persons really realize that they can no longer be dogmatic and just see persons moving into these religions or supporting these religions. What they will have to do is change the way they approach others, so it reduces dogmatism and it reduces the things that are most detrimental in our society, and that is a mindset that causes people to believe that they are better than other persons and causes people to believe that they are right just because a certain doctrine that they hold says that they are right. Persons, for example, believe that they are the rightful owners of a piece of land just because a religious book tells them that their ancestors had right to these lands. So we are saying that kind of dogmatism cannot be maintained, and religion proposes a subjective morality that we cannot sit here and allow to just be poured out to us, to dish out to us, and we just accept it. We are saying that we celebrate secularization because it reduces the ignorance and it reduces the fact that the subjective morality that religion put forward, and it reduces dogmatism, which is directly linked to ignorance. And this is the reason why the government stands proudly to celebrate secularization and to ensure that we change things in our society which needs to be changed, which have been caused by religion.
All right. So let's begin first of all by talking about what we understand is this current status quo, and we'll be telling you how is it that we should not be celebrating schism for the very reason, one, that secularism only creates greater schisms in the society. Two, we'll also bring it to the fact that what we need are more education and public debate between religion and the other groups that exist within society. We'll also tell you that religion is evolving, therefore reduces the need for us to even have secularism in the first place. And we'll also tell you that secularism is a bad system in and of itself because it only seeks to destroy and not introduce anything or any alternative to society. There's a particular reason why religion has survived over the years, and why is it that religion was the basis for reason of the building of civilization. We'll be telling you that, and then secondly, she'll be telling you about, my second speaker, she'll be telling you about the importance of religion from a moral point of view, from a social point of view, and what happens when we take our religion out of the equation. To celebrate something means that we get more benefits and harm against the current status quo. But we're saying that is not the case, because we're saying secularism only creates a greater backlash against those individuals who are a part of religion. So an individual who's a secularist are those individuals who claim that they're anti-religion, and because they're very anti-religion, they often discriminate and ostracize against those individuals who are part of the religious group. Why is this a big issue? We say this is a very big issue. For example, when these secularists become a part of the legislation, they often enforce laws that go against those individuals within these religious minorities. So for example, taking into consideration France and the implementation of hijabs, the ban on hijabs for those individuals who are part of those religious groups. According to those individuals, they believe that because these individuals are practicing these religions, that they are some way ignorant, and we see that's an absurd idea. Because we're saying for what we're saying is that these individuals are educated and rational enough to be able to make a decision that they think is in their best interest. And the internet and education has afforded these individuals the opportunity where we no longer need to depend on a priest to provide us with this information, with access of printing materials such as Bibles and the Gutenberg printing press. More individuals have access to this information, which means we have more of an informed particular individuals in our society. Yes.
We speak about discrimination, but at present, religious groups discriminate against those who carry secular beliefs.
Yeah, of course we know that people against religious groups discriminate against, but that is not the way we solve it. You just don't solve it by creating an anti-group that is totally opposing. We fix it by engaging in public debate and discussions with these particular individuals, and we say that is the way that you get away this divide that happens between those individuals with religion. So we're saying education and public debate is very important, and we have been seeing religions engaging in these particular discourses with those individuals. For example, take into consideration the debates between Richard Dawkins and John Lennox, one evangelical and another an atheist or secularist. What were they able to do? They were able to discuss matters about morality and where that society should actually be heading. We're saying this is a very important thing because this is religion telling you that we no longer want to be a dogmatic institution that enforces our entire rules and morals upon those individuals, which is why we bring it to our second thing that we want to say that religion is evolving. We say that the Catholic Church in its early days would never have accepted homosexuality as a part of it, was very anti-abortion and those particular things. But through public discussion, either change that happens within these organizations, these individuals have adopted to these particular things. And therefore we say religion is doing enough and more than enough to ensure that it can evolve and be adapting to the changing society's morals and views that exist within society. I'll take you.
Alright, so you're saying that the religious groups like Roman Catholic and so forth are changing, but that's increased secularism, so therefore
No. We're not saying that is because of increased secularism. We're saying that is because of increased discussion. We're saying that secularism on our side of the house is not a very good system for those individuals to have a part of it, because the issue with secularism is that it seeks to be very anti and very opposed and not engaging in particular discussions. And we're saying that is a very issue. That's a very big issue, because secularism is only creating another group that is totally opposed, and therefore, for example, it's almost like Republican versus Democrats. And the issue with this schism is that when these individuals do not engage in dialogues with each other, what is further creates is greater schisms and greater dissection and divide between these particular individuals. We're saying secularism seeks to destroy and rebel without contributing much to society. What is the moral alternative have secularism provided to our society? What are those things that society has and secularism has provided in regards to social and moral and benefits to us? We're saying that in all of these things that they're talking about, these transformations have all been contributed to our society by religion. The political change that we have has been contributed by religion. We're saying that the laws that we have on the books have been contributed by religion. We're saying, therefore, you don't need to celebrate secularism, and we're saying you should not be celebrating the increasing secularism in the world, because we're saying it only creates hostility against faith, and we're saying that is a very big issue, because what they do is that because you're so anti-religion, because they believe somehow religion is this evil mass machine that goes around and, it hypnotizes people into following them, and therefore they do wrongs. We're saying that is not religion anymore, because religion has done enough to ensure that it proves itself that it is flexible, that it's able to change, and it's open for open dialogue and education. And we're saying that is very important here. Educating the masses is the most important thing that we can do to ensure that when individuals join particular religions, we know why they're doing those particular things, and they're able to decide what they think is in their best interest. They can say to that particular religion that those particular views that you hold are not in our best interest, does not benefit society, and we're saying that is an issue, and therefore these individuals will leave this. This is only creating a rift between these two organizations, because now it's religion versus secularism, and we're saying that that is not the way for us to go. The way for us to go is to ensure that we can be more unified, so we can have more open debate, open discussions. We're saying that individuals who are secularists are very anti-religion, and because they become so anti-religion, they often put things that are in their best interest and often ostracizes religious groups. The answer to the Charlie Hebdo shooting in Paris was not increasing secularism. It was more open dialogue between these individuals within the Muslim community to have an understanding of where is it that we move from here. And for that reason, we're very happy to oppose this motion.
The opposition member came and he made a rant about how the importance of religion and how it purports morality, and we're saying being religious does not equate to being more moral, and that's the whole matter. Now, as he said, secularism is skepticism. However, skepticism has resulted in discoveries, in flaws in religion. For example, in the Dark Ages, the Catholic Church accepted the wrongs that it had done at some point because of the doctrines purported by the secularists. And we want to advance this by celebrating secularism. What we're saying, we're not saying that we're going against religion. No, people. We're not saying that. We're just saying that we are listening to the views of everyone, and this is simply freedom of expression. And as the government, we believe that everyone should be able to express themselves however they feel necessary, especially if it is not going against the views of another. And we believe that being secularist does not mean you're going to go out and kill a Christian or a Muslim, or you have your own beliefs and you stand by your own beliefs, and that's what we're purporting. Let us look at the comparison between Christians and atheists, because they are purporting that, okay, our laws are built on moralities of religion, and we're saying that religion puts forth some crazy aspects into law that we just can't back up. For example, as my government member stated, murder and domestic abuse of women is purported by some religions, but we can't agree with that or put it into law because it's against other human rights, and that's what we're saying. When we are celebrating secularization, we're celebrating the whole matter of freedom of expression, and freedom of expression, we believe, is a fundamental human right. What else are we saying to this debate? Let us look at Jamaica versus the world, because they're going to come up with the whole issue of morality. As Jamaicans, we are a predominantly Christian nation. However, we have a large murder rate, and there are countries in Europe, sit down, not yet. There are countries in Europe, ladies and gentlemen, who are predominantly atheists, but they don't have the murder rate as Jamaican or as other religious countries. So the whole issue of morality based solely on being religious is totally out of whack. As the government, we believe that we should celebrate the freedom of expression and the freedom of not being dogmatic as it relates to thinking. Another matter that I want to rebut that was said by the opposition member is the fact that celebrating secularization will bring people into the system who will create laws that will not be beneficial to those who are secularists. But religious people currently create laws that do not advance secularists. So what we're putting on the books is a level playing field for both individuals. And the discussions that they said will be had the debates that they say will be had, we don't think that is feasible. We don't see where that is feasible, because religion is something that is entrenched in a person's belief. And once you are coming against my religion or coming against my belief, that will create further squabbles in the system. So the whole matter of having debates that they brought out, we believe that is not going to yield the fruits that they spoke about. They spoke about the whole issue of discrimination. We believe that us celebrating secularization in a world that's predominantly of religious belief is going to level the playing field and create a matter where no discrimination is going to be had over me being religious being better than you not having a religious background. So what have we brought to debate? This debate, why on side government, we have won this debate. We have stated, as by my government member, why we're not necessarily going against religion. We're just creating a level playing field for those who are religious and those who are otherwise minded. And we're saying celebrate means rejecting the flaws of religion, because a lot of the times there are flaws in religion, as I stated before, that secularization has brought fruit to, and the religious dogmats have seen this. So we're saying that it will essentially lead to a reduction in dogmatism, which is a reduction in ignorance, and will prosper free thinking, and it challenges religions to solve the issues that they have created. Yes, quickly.
Your secularization is going to be rejecting the views of many religious entities.
No, we're not saying that we're rejecting the views of other religions. We're not saying that. We're just saying that we celebrate those who reject it. We don't reject it. We are purporting that both should have equal playing field in the society that we live in. If we're going to be continually forcing religion and religious views on individuals, then we're not going to be a government who celebrates the freedom of expression that is so entrenched in our fundamental human rights. Also, as I continue, we spoke about how the issue of religion is a form of subjective morality, and how the Catholics believe that the Crusades were right, killing millions of people. Even today, we don't know how many people were killed. And they are also saying that the morality of those who think that it's okay to commit suicide and kill everyone else is over mine, who does not believe in this. We also spoke on the whole morality of things and the Christian versus atheist conundrum, and the fact that we are celebrating the fundamental human right of freedom of expression and the Jamaican right of freedom of expression when we celebrate secularization. Ladies and gentlemen, we're not saying that the government is doing away with religious freedom and religious beliefs. That's not what we're saying. But if it is that I believe otherwise, I should have the right to freely think as such. And this is what we are purporting. Morality, ladies and gentlemen, does not mean that it's religious. Religion and morality does not equate, and that is what we're saying. And we've seen it, especially in our Jamaican society. We saw with the plans that they purported that it will create more disparity and divide in our country, and it's not necessarily inclusion as they purported. And this is why on site government we are so glad to celebrate secularization.
So on this side of the house, on our side of the house, the opposition bench, we go strongly with the motion that this house does not celebrate the increased secularization of the world. Now, before I go into my extensions to what my opposition leader said, I'll provide you with a few rebuttals, because I obviously think the Deputy Prime Minister is confused, because what her Prime Minister came up here and said, she's somewhat trying to come back from that. So now the Prime Minister came up here and he painted the picture that religion will somehow, if you're religiously affiliated, you're ignorant, you're stupid, you cannot have a proper conversation because you're so dogmatized that you think in one box, and as a Christian, you cannot have an intellectual conversation and reason through something and know whether or not you want to make a decision on something. And we're just thinking on this side of the house that it is ridiculous to think that because you're religiously affiliated, you're so stupid you cannot make a rational decision. Now, we're saying on this side of the house that they came up here and they spoke about religions that propose beating of women and religions that propose killing and whatever. And we're saying that that's the minority group of religions. We're saying that not at this time. We're saying that in secular society, there are persons who beat persons. There are persons who have crime and violence in the secular society. So increasing secularization does not decrease this problem in society. So bringing it up that religious groups, you have persons who beat persons and do this, that does not solve the problem of beating the persons. That does not solve the murder problem. So we're saying on this side of the house that you have religious groups that are evolving. They're evolving without accepting secular, that word, right? So we're saying on this side of the house that you have LGBT pastors. You have pastors who are homosexuals. They're still pastors. They're still religiously affiliated. You have persons that are so celebrating this religion in the world, but they're not celebrating the increasing of secularization. Not at this time. We're showing you on this side of the house why religion increases morality, the benefits of religion as we have seen. Now, the Deputy Prime Minister made it seem as though assuming that crimes are associated with religion. So they're saying on this side of the house it is ridiculous to say in Jamaica, oh, we're a Christian society, and because we're a Christian society, the crimes are related to religion, and you're assuming that on this side of the house. So we're saying that, okay, fine, you're assuming that the crimes are related to religion, but then if you take away the religion, there's going to be a boom of crimes if you take away this religion from the scene and stuff. So we're saying that is ridiculous. So we're saying on this side of the house that crime is caused by reasons, like poverty, like reprisal killings. So we're saying that it is ridiculous to compare religion to crime. We're saying on this side of the house that religious people will now become marginalized. Because you're putting in a belief system now, because with the increasing of secularization, you will have persons who will now want to make laws to say that persons are not allowed to wear their hijabs, persons are not allowed to do this, persons are not allowed to pray in public, persons are not allowed to express their freedom, like what the upper house and the government wants us to think that religion hinders you from doing, expressing your freedom. So we're saying that religion is actually a form of freedom of expression. So we're saying on this side of the house that you have people, not at this time, you have people who will now start to say, oh, we're having increased secularization of the world. So now we're saying that, oh, you, ma'am, even though you want to pray before you go and do a speech, or even though you want to pray before you go and do this, you're not allowed to do so. So you're taking away their freedom of expression. We're saying on this side of the house that religion increases social skills in the world. We're saying that you have a lot of religions who have youth groups, you have marriage counseling for persons, which helps to have a better family structure in the world. You have laws of the land. I'm not taking you. You have laws of the land that are developed based on these religious practices. So we're saying that religious people, though you have a small minority who will say, oh, because of their religion they kill so and so, we're saying that the greater amount of persons are less likely to be doing evil when religiously affiliated.
On that point, ma'am?
I'll take her.
Okay, so the government already celebrates religious and religious freedom. So
okay,
those who are secular are marginalized.
Thank you. Okay, we're saying on this side of the house that you don't have a big situation in the status quo where persons are saying, oh, and the thing is, alright, fine. We're saying that persons who are secular are marginalized by religious groups. But we're saying on this side of the house that you don't have a big issue in society now where Christians are saying, oh, because you're secular, you will not be able to do this job, you will not be able to do that. But we see with increased secularization, you have persons who are saying, because you're religiously affiliated with this religion, you will not be able to get this job. So we're seeing on this side of the house where persons who are religiously, with the increased secularization, you have persons, there's more marginalization with persons who are religiously affiliated. What have we brought to you on this side of the house? We've shown you where religion is a freedom of expression, where persons should be able to freely express themselves. We're agreeing with that, but we're saying that it is increasing morality, where you have persons who are less likely to do the evil, even though the upper house tried to paint a bad picture with persons who are religious. We're saying on this side of the house that religious people are not stupid people, so they are able to properly rationalize and do certain things. We're saying that on this side of the house they want a hostility of faith. We're showing you where religion increases social skills and increases morality on this side of the house. So in the upper house, we rest our case.
Currently, we exist in a space here in the world, not only here in Jamaica, but all around the world, where persons do not think. Persons are born into households that hold certain religious norms, and they simply accept these religious norms simply because they don't think for themselves. We are trying to move away from this, Mr. Speaker. There's no exploration by persons to search, to go out on explorations, and to think in a way where they think logically for themselves and explore things for themselves and explore various pools of thought for themselves, Mr. Speaker. We have a situation where persons are simply brainwashed into believing what they believe. And we don't support this, Mr. Speaker. We believe that we, as the government, should facilitate something where persons will be more likely to open their minds to not just what they were told by their parents or told at school, but also to consider other pools of thought, other diverse means of thinking and ways of thinking that they weren't previously exposed to. No, persons are not expressing themselves because they don't have the space to. And we're saying currently we're moving away from that. And that is exactly why we are celebrating the increasing secularization of the world.
On that point?
No, not accepted. Why exactly do we support increasing secularism of the world? No. Firstly, Mr. Speaker, this is what the lower house is bringing to the table today. We see where this celebration of increased secularism actually eliminates animosity between not only citizens and religion, but between citizens and the government. Now we're saying when religion is forced upon citizens, which it has been heavily forced upon citizens in the past, we're saying when this religion is forced upon them, they see religion as an oppressive tool. They see religion as something that they should hate. And this is not good for religion. It actually puts a very bad face to religion, and it stigmatizes religion as being something very oppressive and something very, very bad. No, we believe that religion actually has some benefits to it, but what we're saying is when it is forced upon people, persons are less likely to even consider it. No, when children go to school and they're told they can't wear earrings, or they're told they can't continue school because they're pregnant, what exactly does that do? It causes the child to go to school or continue their tenure, continue living, thinking that, oh, religion is something also bad, it's very oppressive, it's very silly, it's just a really, really bad thing that is causing my life to end up in mayhem and havoc. And we're saying it's not good for religion, but also it's not good for the government. It's not good for the citizens, for the relationship between the citizens and the government. Because citizens will also become resistant and opposed to the government, which they see as being their oppressor. Go ahead.
So don't you think the education and publicity that we have brought would reduce this dogma that you're talking about?
No, but what I'm saying is that where religions are actually not properly represented, that won't work, right? We are saying eliminate the religious flavor in the society, because in some countries they're going to have a prevailing flavor, and in other countries they're going to have another prevailing flavor. And then what you'll have is that persons who live in Jamaica who are Muslim, they feel as though they're being oppressed because the flavor of religion in Jamaica is that of a Christian nature, and that's oppressive to persons. And if you do have a public debate about Muslim and Christianity in Jamaica, the Muslims are obviously going to be at a severe disadvantage, and that's why we don't support that suggestion. No, back to what I was saying, Mr. Speaker. Citizens will also become very, very opposed to not only the government but to religion on a whole. And it creates a certain kind of animosity within the society where citizens see religion as a terrible thing and they see the government as a bad thing. They hate the oppressor and the tool of oppression, Mr. Speaker. In Saudi Arabia, you have a lot of Muslim women. They are absolutely opposed to the government. They hate the government. They are not given the rights that they feel they deserve. They are not able to drive and various other amenities that various other women in other parts of the world have access to. And we're saying it causes them to hate the government essentially, and some of them even end up hating their own religion. And we're saying it puts a very bad face to religion that we don't like. Now, Mr. Speaker, another really big thing, this bombshell, Mr. Speaker, that has not yet been addressed in this debate, is that secularism facilitates global stability, which we all need at this point, Mr. Speaker. Countries are now so much less likely now to engage in religious warfare, and they're more likely to cooperate, not accepted. They're so much more likely to cooperate and work together and to engage in relationships of unity. They're so much more likely to work together in a cohesive manner, Mr. Speaker. In the Middle East, the Sunni and the Shiite tribes, they continue to engage in warfare. Why? Simply on religious grounds. And we're saying religion in the past has led to many wars, and we're saying when we move away from a paradigm where religion has a major stake in the society, we actually move away from religious warfare. And we don't just move away from religious warfare, but we move towards unity and cohesiveness and harmony within the world community, Mr. Speaker. It facilitates cohesiveness in the world, and it facilitates a willingness on the part of countries to work together and to actually achieve things and to get more things done. Go ahead.
So what about countries like Russia that was once communist and therefore engaged in a lot of wars? It was a very secularist nation. Isn't it the same thing that you're talking about?
There are many causes of wars, Mr. Speaker. I'm simply addressing one. If we can get rid of one cause of wars, then that's better than getting rid of none. Now, what I'm saying, Mr. Speaker, that apparently the opposition bench is not getting is that secularism facilitates a certain kind of harmony within the world society. So not just on a national scale, but also on a global scale. Within countries, you have many persons being oppressed, all in the name of religion. Just the other day, I got a video on my WhatsApp, Mr. Speaker, of them burning a Christian in Nigeria simply because of his faith. Now this happens on a much wider scale in many countries all the time. And I'm saying, moving away from this is a very healthy way to not only protect citizens, but also protect countries and to reduce animosity in the society amongst persons and to get persons to have a fair chance of getting exposure to various types of religion, getting them in a situation where they're able to go out and freely explore religions of various kinds and to think for themselves. And we believe that it also promotes global stability. And for these reasons, we stand resolute on the lower house of the government that this is exactly why we should celebrate the increasing secularization of the world. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The truth in this debate is that the entire human community has never fully agreed on what is right. That today is the essence of moral relativism, and is going to be at the heart of my extension in this debate. Two things in this discussion. First, I will tell you that what they are proposing on their side of the house is the introduction or the imposition of a dangerous hegemony of secularization. The second thing is that I will show you that a diversity of perspectives on morality is healthy for morality. Let's move into the first one. We think that this dangerous hegemony of secularization, because what they did not tell us is that whilst, as the Prime Minister would have said, that secularization is a progressive move towards the rejection of the embracing of religious ideologies and to take on new ideologies, we never heard what were the details of those new ideologies that were going to be taken on. So we're not sure where religion has been put aside or where the decisions are to be made based on certain kinds of philosophical paradigm. We were not sure as to the philosophical paradigm that will be chosen. So what is happening is that there are two possibilities. The first possibility is that the philosophical paradigm as regards to how decisions are made within a secular society may necessarily agree with a particular group or disproportionately agree with some groups over other groups. Or it may be a new perspective that disregard other views and will in sense be the new hegemony that they are trying to remove. We think that in essence, where you have a diverse group, the secularization is not necessarily good. Let me tell you why secularization is not necessarily good. Secularization is the ideology that was infused into communism. When we saw people like Mao Zedong massacring millions of Chinese in his rise to power, those were the kinds of things that come out of the secularization because they lack the kinds of guidance and the kinds of perspective that existed in religion that says that people are infused with human dignity, that such that they are accountable to some higher order. Let's contrast that, ladies and gentlemen, with the United States that came out of a Christian ethos that says that it is self-evident that all human beings are designed in equality in the image of God. And what does that mean? We see that in a society that is entrenched with freedoms and rights and all the beautiful benefits that we think are good for society. Now, we think that there are also some benefits to religion. And the interesting thing in this debate, ladies and gentlemen, is not about whether the religious doctrine is right or wrong. It's about what are the utilitarian benefits that can be garnered from it. So we think that despite what people believe, religion brings forth a sense of hope and a sense of well-being in people that nobody else has talked about in this debate. We think that people growing up into families and growing up into societies have their identities infused and intertwined with a certain kind of religious narrative. And we don't think that is necessarily a bad thing. What we suggest, on the other hand, is that we should have more of that, and we should have many of those things, because that leads me now into my second point. The second point is that the diversity in perspectives on morality is healthy for morality. Moral relativism is guaranteed in the human condition, as we have seen it shown throughout history, where we have differences in philosophy, in ideologies, in religions, and so forth. Philosophically speaking, and this is where we get into the principled idea, there is no reason why I can tell you that my right is superior to your right, because we simply don't know. So I, as the objective entity in this debate, will say to you that while the secularists will say, yes, it's okay for you to have sex out of marriage, and the religious people will say to you, no, you should only have sex in marriage, we think that we can't make a decision as to which of those behaviors is objectively right, and so both perspectives must exist, right? So we don't think that it is healthy for a society that is secularist to come and say, hey, these are the principles that we're going to uphold, to the exclusion of other principles.
Yes, so you're saying that diversity is good, but so we are saying diversity in morality is good, so celebrate another form, the secular view.
All right, thank you very much. But the thing is that, what we see is that there is this increasing of the secular view which is increasing to a disproportionate extent. And what we think is that whilst there is an increasing in one over the other, this kind of disproportionality necessarily means that you're establishing the hegemony of one perspective over another. We think that the fact that, philosophically speaking, no moral view is necessarily superior to another, then the blended approach where all views exist in a proportional degree is a better society to live in than one where one is existing more so than the other. Because what that means is that if secularization is at the heart of the decision-making process, it means that legislation will be made around the secularization. It means that conclusions will be drawn around the secular perspective, more so than the other perspective.
Point of information.
Let me then tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that the people don't think for themselves idea that they come about, where people just come and adopt religion. But what they're instead now in doing is encouraging an indoctrination by secularization. And we think that as it has been said before, people fight for many things. So this whole idea about many wars that have existed, and how Jamaica, for instance, is plagued with crime and violence, and it is one of the most religious countries because there's a large number of churches per capita. What we see is that most despicable crimes and the largest number of crimes that are committed are not necessarily committed by those of Christians. So I don't care whether or not Christian perspectives are right. What we think is that we have noticed a trend that those people who go to church on a Sunday, those people who believe in God and fear God, are necessarily the people who are turning away from crime. The people who we are seeing going into violent and devious kinds of massacre are the people who lose principles and morality because they're not in church, right? And we have not seen where secularization necessarily leads to a sort of benefit. So on that idea of the crime and violence, we think that necessarily just because of what religion promotes, then we are having a situation where those involved in religion are necessarily less likely to turn away from crime. So what is the essence in this debate? The essence in this debate is that there is moral relativism, and I can't tell you that my right is superior to your right. We don't know which right is superior. And so, philosophically speaking, we must allow all the rights to coexist. Where you have one perspective that is on the rise, disproportionate to other perspectives, then you are necessarily going to lead to a hegemony of one ideology over the other. We think that that is philosophically unjust, and so we say, let there be a world of moral relativism where there is diversity and not the rejection of religious perspectives. Here.
Alright, so there were
several arguments that were coming from the opposition side that I find absolutely problematic, Mr. Speaker, and I'll definitely be addressing them. Before I, however, get to highlight the clashes within my arguments, as well as the rebuttals and substances and so forth, I'll definitely speak about one specific and less relevant rebuttal. All right, so they were basically saying on their side of the house, right, that there is more violence as a result of secularism by Christianity. But that's by Christianity. They didn't speak about other religions. But I really want to say that this is not necessarily the case. There are several thousand pastors in the world who attend church, who preach to congregation, who are still locked up because of rape and sexual molestation, and that's a crime. There are several thousand pastors and heads of states who are locked up because of financial problems within the church and theft and so forth. There are several individuals who participate in certain religions in Africa that support cannibalism. That is absolutely bad because it ends up in murder. There are individuals who participate in religion that are violent, and there are atheists and persons who believe in secularism that also do participate in violence, but it is not absolute to any single group of individuals. Let me get into my substantive. And let me get into my clashes. Alright, so basically, the argument that was brought up by opening opposition clearly stated that no, churches like the Roman Catholic Church and so forth are engaging in particular discussions to actually show how there can be more inclusivity, to facilitate open discussion, right? The lower house basically came up and they were saying things like religious groups now basically facilitate LGBTQ movements and so forth. But guess what? That is secularism, Mr. Speaker, and they're showing all the benefits of this. You know why secularism? Because religious is absolute. Why is religious absolute? Because it practices the principle of deontology, which means that it is either right or it is wrong. There is no middle ground on religion, Mr. Speaker. Alright, so let me get into what we are saying now, Mr. Speaker. We are saying that what secularism affords or allows within society, on our side of the house has brought by my member, is the possibility to exist within a plural space where there is not one set of life, Mr. Speaker, but there's more plurality and more possibility to express and exist in that space. Why is that particularly important for this expression, Mr. Speaker? Simply because individuals are born different. They do not and should not have to subscribe to one way of life, especially given that they were born in a way that they cannot control. They do have differences and they should not be forced to succumb to one single way of life. We are all unique and we all have unique capabilities to exist in unique spaces, and that's why we're promoting secularism, Mr. Speaker. Alright, so basically on the opening half of the opposition, they came up and they said to us that what secularism does is create hostility. But we want to reject this. You know what creates hostility to faith? When individuals realize that they're not being trapped in a box, when they realize that people don't accept their plurality, they begin to feel as if they're oppressed, and as a result of that, they become hostile to a particular religious group or religions, Mr. Speaker. We're saying that our side doesn't promote hostility. Why? Because one, not everybody is atheist who is secular, Mr. Speaker. Not only that, Mr. Speaker, guess why it doesn't promote hostility? Because many secularists don't care about religion. So if you want to be religious, it's your business, and if I don't, it's my business, Mr. Speaker. And that's the plural space that secularism can and actually does exist in.
The example of cannibalism and the priest thing is flawed because those are not actions that are motivated by religion.
Okay, thank you. For one, that's irrelevant for attacking an example. And two, cannibalism is facilitated by a belief system. And a belief system is always or usually under the umbrella of a particular religion or ideology, which is also a religion in some cases. Alright, so let me get back into my rebuttals. Alright, so what they were saying on their side of the house is that when secularism is being promoted, what's going to happen is that we're going to result or see the creation of laws that are absolutely exclusive. But no, Mr. Speaker, you know why? Because religion currently does that. Religion says it's either my way or the highway because of the principle of deontology. So what happens now? Religious groups say abortion is wrong and therefore we ban abortions. What secularism says is that abortion can happen. It doesn't say everybody needs to take abortions. It does more possibility for the existence of several groups within several spaces, because as I said, it is plural and not as absolute as religion is. Mr. Speaker, we're saying on our side of the house, as mentioned by our member, is that religion helps to create a more harmonious global space within which we can exist, and nobody on their side of the house touches argument. Mr. Speaker, you know why this is beneficial? Simply because individuals from different countries with different perspectives can now exist in this space. What has religion done to globalization, Mr. Speaker? We've seen where religious wars happen within countries, which results in the instability of their own country, therefore shutting them out of certain globalization opportunities. The Sunni and the Shiites, they've been fighting for generations, Mr. Speaker, and that's disruptive in and of itself. What's happening? The West is against the East, mainly because of principles, ideologies, and religion, Mr. Speaker. And this is unstable for the relationship between these entities to exist. What we're saying is that secularization promotes an environment where religion is not at the helm, Mr. Speaker. Where religion is not eradicated, because we're not saying we want to eradicate it, but it is facilitated, but just to a lesser extent, Mr. Speaker. We're saying what happens is that it allows individual countries who do have different moral systems, who do have different belief systems, to exist in a different space, Mr. Speaker, without having one absolute option to exist and form relationships. We're saying this is good for countries because religion is in the deep moral foundation of our systems. And if it is that a country is opposing to that, we'll be less attracted to participate and interact with them. We're saying when things are secular, you're plural, therefore it's more attractive to have a more attractive relationship, Mr. Speaker. And because I've shown you the global benefits, because I've shown you why the arguments are so far on their side of the house, and because I've shown you that we've definitely brought clear and strong extensions, Mr. Speaker, I'm very, very proud to propose. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, there are some questions that need to be answered in this debate, and we think that the closing opposition has sufficiently answered these questions so as to exclude the other members of this debate from the conversation altogether. Now, these questions are, one, who is being marginalized, right? Is it the persons who are secular or the religious persons? And how do we resolve the whole issue of marginalization? Now, I'm going to be using my partner's points to show you how this clashes with all the arguments brought forward on government and opening opposition to some extent. So, let's hear who is being marginalized. Now, from the government, we heard the whole issue from the Prime Minister and his deputy that religion is dogma. What religion does, it dictates to you what you should do, and if you do not comply, then we think that you are the other and I am the one. So they're bringing the case that Christians will basically discriminate against the secular people, and this is not good for society. What we're saying on our side of the house is that there's a thing called moral relativity, and that means that morality is not one thing, right? And all individuals have the right to determine what is moral to them. And the plural state that they talk about on this side of the house is not achieved because secularism will become an hegemony that takes over the other religious spaces. So what secularism does at the heart of discussing marginalization is secularism, what it does is questions higher authority. Secularism basically says, I reject religion. And what is religion based on? It's based on a higher authority. So if you look at Muslims believe in Allah, right? They're a specific type of Muslim. Christians believe in Jesus Christ. So Christianity or religion on a whole is based on something that is supreme to human beings, right? And that's where you get your laws from. That's where you regulate life. What secularism does is secularism rejects this. Secularism says, God accept it. Secularism says to us that we reject this indoctrination that believes that there's a higher order. We just think that we are supposed to think of ways of solving issues as human beings and using logic to determine how things happen and not necessarily what we believe this higher order being says. Now, what is so problematic about this? We think that this creates an hegemony, meaning that you have one ideology over the others. Because if you're questioning religion, you're removing not only Muslims, but Christians, Buddhists, and all other types of ideology from the space. Because you're saying to me that we're rejecting any type of religion that says there's a higher order. And we think that when you celebrate secularism, you celebrate a particular belief system that says that we do not like you or we do not accept what you're saying. So the kind of marginalization that they're talking about, accepted, the kind of marginalization that they're talking about is not solved because you still have the perpetuation of this marginalization. What we're proposing on our side of the house is to have an appreciation of diversity. So we're saying to you, allow religion to continue. We're saying that we're moving in an age where there's a cultural apprehension, and that's why we have the fights between the ISIS and Al-Qaeda, right, in those internal spaces. We're thinking that cultural apprehension is something that we really have to deal with. The whole issue of fearing you because you are that. We're thinking that the way to go about is not rejecting these ideas, but appreciating culture, appreciating how people choose to live their life. Because what you will always have is a belief system. So removing of religion does not mean you remove a belief system. You'll always have people basically believing in a particular thing. But we think that it is better to have this uniformity and standardization in which things are done, and allowing individuals to have an appreciation of this. Now, there seems to be an assumption on their side of the house that once you are associated with a particular religion, then you are not free to explore other types of religion. So they're saying to you in the lower house that when you're born into a particular religion, and that makes you not want to go and explore other types of religion. We're saying that, or you cannot. So they're making it seem as if you cannot do it. But we're saying to you that you are always free to have expression, right? Which is based on human rights, which is based on Christian principles. So we're saying to you that the very things that we hold on high, so that human rights, right to life, right to dignity, all of these things are based on Christian principles, the one that that says that God created us equal. Who is God? Secularism does not accept the whole concept of God. It rejects it. And so we think that even these things that you hold on high is still determined or still reliant on religion. I'll take that.
So I'm saying, how exactly is it? You have not shown us how it is that you're going to facilitate diversity where each religion is going to have equal air. Equally air. So in a country like Jamaica where Christianity reigns.
So we're saying to you, ladies and gentlemen, that you have the freedom to choose your religion, right? Which is based on human rights, which we already established. And we're saying to you, ladies and gentlemen, that everybody can choose whatever religion they want. And through the public debates that they have proposed on opposition, you have this engagement of this religion. But we do not think that it is so necessary to celebrate the removal of higher power and that kind of thing, right? No. The next question is, where does morality come from, right? So does morality come from the higher order and the regulation of life, or does morality come from the removal of all this and questioning these kind of things? We think that you will not have any kind of standard that is necessary in terms of determining what is right and what is wrong without religion, right? So we're thinking that the whole argument that only secular societies are developed is totally ludicrous, because we have Arab countries such as Abu Dhabi and Saudi Arabia that are really high in terms of their economic output, right? Even surpasses some of the Western world. We think that what is happening in these societies is that you have religion in these kind of societies, and it's not really determined on the absence of religion, but the management of the resources that are there. So we totally reject the whole argument of it not being able to strive as a country because of secularism. Then now, the whole issue of are we doing away with religion altogether when we have secularism? We think that yes, there's a possibility, because if there's an increase in secularism, you have an increase in the abstention from religion or the questioning of these kind of things. And while we do not think that questioning cannot happen without secularism, we think that you can have questioning of religion by interacting, by having the different religious parties interacting with each other. So we think that we should not celebrate secularism, that we should have a promotion of diversity and pluralism in our society, which they do not accomplish.